Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the top 10 best tips for beginners in Slay the Spire 2. As someone with hundreds of hours in the first game, there's some mechanics here that don't make a whole lot of sense if you're new to the franchise, some new changes to Slay the Spire 2, and some strategies to make this game a lot easier, which we'll be breaking down in this video. Don't want to waste anyone's time, we're going to dive right in with the very first tip. This is a game of attrition. Blocking is one of the best things we can actually do in this game. Now, you can always look over the character and see what their intention is to do, so this character is going to be doing an attack with 22 damage. This is where we kind of reverse engineer our plan for our turn. So obviously reducing the damage that we take is our top priority. The only time that really is okay to take damage if you know there's a campsite coming up ahead and you don't have any cards you really want to upgrade, because for the most part, it's a resource that we want to reduce our dependence on losing. This comes in multifaceted, so things like weak will reduce the damage dealt by the enemy by 25%, so you can start to plan around that. That'd be the first thing I'd recommend doing, because it's going to end up taking his damage from that 22 down to 16. This allows us to strategize a little bit better. You do take damage, that's kind of the thing with this game, but our opportunities are to prevent that as much as possible. I'll talk about some other ways to help out with that, but you do have a variety of different cards, and this game is kind of about getting through your deck kind of quickly to get some of the best cards out. And on my first turn here, I got 4 energy on this current run, so I'm going to take 1 to defend here, so I now have 5 shield. The problem is the rest of my attacks are all damage-based ones, so that's the thing, is you sometimes will end up taking damage, and that's why we want to end up sometimes removing like our basic strike attacks here, as you can deal damage to a target, but we're trying to reduce the amount that we end up taking so we can go on long run. So in a nutshell, our first turn should always, or the first thing we'll do at our start of our turn is look for any ways to weaken the enemy with things like this. This also applies a vulnerability, which is amazing because we're boosting up our damage by 1.5 times. So this turns our like 6 damage into 9 damage, which is amazing. But after that, we got to make sure that we're taking less damage from this attacker. So he's got 12 there. You can get buffs to our cards. Like this block card gives us extra block. Now we got 8. So there's now 4 points here. Unfortunately, I don't have any ways to draw more cards. So I'm just going to go ahead here with my attacks. And always use your other attacks over your basic strikes. They're just going to end up being way better. Unfortunately, ran out. I ended up taking 4 points of damage there. Our target is down to half health, but it does have a big shield up, which is tough. The enemy can do the same. But our first tip is just always be blocking, trying to reduce the damage as much as possible, but think ahead with what they are planning on doing. If you see them debuffing, it's sometimes better to just go with an attack. Tip number 2 may go against what you think about this game. This is a game about getting cards and adding them to our deck. Not always. Sometimes the cards won't complement your build whatsoever. And again, I talked about earlier, we want to be getting through our deck quickly so we can get some of our more powerful cards. What you're doing with adding in cards that don't fill up your build is you're diluting your card pool. This skip button is one of the best things that you can do in this game, in all honesty. Right now, my options are basically doing a basic strike 3 times for 2 action points. So it's like buy 2, get 1 free, or solar strike, which is an enhanced version of our strike, but it gives us our star power for this class. That is good. However, if you have a lot of attack cards right now, you may not need these. So that may be an opportunity where you're going to skip. I'm going to take this though and continue. And here's a situation where I have a little bit of better cards. Again, having things that can apply statuses like weak and vulnerable are very nice to have, especially with a 0 energy cost. But this is really nice. You saw in that last turn, I ran out of energy or cards, and I still had energy. Sometimes getting a higher cost card could be good, especially if it's going to be giving you block. This takes us to our third tip. Now, whenever you get along to merchants, there's a lot of great things here. You can purchase cards, and I'd actually encourage you to do so. If there's something here that's going to complement your build, it's worth taking, especially if there's cards that are on sale. But the big thing here is once you get to a merchant, you got the card removal servant. So this starts at 75. You can remove any card from here, and it's going to increase in cost by 25 each time you do it. This is where you want to remove your basic strikes, because they aren't going to be any better than, like, every other card here is better than it, basically. So it depends by hero that you're playing. Some are going to have cards that just straight up aren't really putting them forwards in terms of their skills. This guy in particular doesn't need his strikes. So typically when I come to the merchant, the first thing I'm looking for is any of these different passive buffs that we can get that's going to complement our build. They are the more pricey ones, so they're first that we want to be looking at. Potions as well. This is something we'll talk about a bit later on, but sometimes there's some really good ones here. Then I'm looking at the cards. This is a good one here, Bulwark. I need more energy expenditure, so getting more block. This fits my build really well. But for the most part, you're going to want to just remove cards here and basically just skip the ones that aren't fitting up your build, and then getting rid of things like the strike cards here that aren't really pushing you forward, so that you can get through your builds quicker. Just be mindful that you're going to be wanting to do this pretty much every time that you come through here, and it's going to increase in cost. So look through their items, but yeah, remove your cards. Which brings us to our next tip, actually. It's about strategizing. The map has a particular route that you'd probably want to take. So I actually recommend right at start, as you first get in here, look at the path that you want to take. Do you need more relics and more powerful items? Then you may want to go after bosses. If you're low on health, you may want to find some different campfires that you can recover your character. If you notice you have a lot of stinkers in terms of cards, maybe you want to go and take a look at the merchants. This is something that will change as you continue through the different acts in this. So sometimes at the start, I recommend actually going towards and trying to fight the bosses. If you're feeling like your build is good enough, typically the bosses are gonna be a little bit easier at the start. And they're nice because you want to start picking up a bunch of relics, because the relics are honestly quite crazy in this game. So plan it out, look for some, it depends again on how high your health is. Like right now I'm running a little low. I don't really want to, I got a big boss up ahead. Or maybe you have cards that you really want to upgrade. Campfires are typically a place that you want to look for, but you do want to split it around. So I just recommend taking a look through, and depending on where you're at, like you can kind of strategize. Like if you're here and let's say you needed to go for a campfire, you're not going to see one on this left-hand side for quite some time. You're going to be doing a couple boss gauntlet. Plan ahead. It sucks to get stuck in a place when you got low health. And when it comes to camping, just a quick note here, healing is going to be a good choice. Again, as a battle of attrition, if your health is at 0, your run's over. It doesn't matter how nice your cards are. This is something you have to play by ear depending on how risky you like to play. Sometimes it's nice to upgrade cards in your deck, especially if you have one that you really want to upgrade. But for the most part, if you need the health, probably best to take it. This game is all about synergies. Sometimes it's best to be able to set yourself up. This character has some really nice ones where we're able to apply weak and also vulnerable on the target. So we have that set up for 3 turns. This lets you kind of plan ahead. And what's nice about this character in particular is they can forge their weapon. This has 51 damage and they're vulnerable, which means it has 81 damage when I attack them. But that's not all. We can actually take that even further. So sometimes adding cards that are going to give you draw pile are really nice. We kind of want to stack our hand here. So I'm actually going to hold off on this because this is a card I retain and I want to make sure that I can one-shot them. And it's nice, I was able to draw 2 cards here, and this really lets you strategize, because let's say I didn't have any weak or vulnerable, I could just take this here, 0 cost, and apply it on them really easily. So this is kind of how you get into a flow of like making sure that your cards are flowing into each other nicely, so that when we cycle through our deck, we're set up so that we can do even more damage. Right now the cards I'm going to take is Know Thy Place for the weakness and vulnerability, and this one's increasing its damage every time that we draw it, which can actually end up being pretty crazy. And right now the boss is going to do an attack with 22 damage. I have 28 health left, so it would be nice to be able to prevent this. He does have 2 more turns of the vulnerability, so I don't have to burst him down this turn. So for this turn, I'm going to actually hold on to the Sovereign, do my other attacks here so that they do get squashed through, and we retain this one. In a bit of a pickle here, but he's not going to damage me next turn. It's fine. I'm still going to go and blast away with this for the 81 damage here, and he's got 6 left. This is just the luck of the cards. I got a bunch of forging here with no real damage, but thankfully I got this one here, which lets me re-summon this back. It's do 93 damage this time. So yeah, sometimes the cards fall into place, but we do want to have them enabled so that we can combine some of the abilities to burst damage, or whatever character you're playing, they usually have a mechanic that's applied to them. Our next tip, however, is about potions. These are things that are easy to hoard because you think you're never going to use them. I could have probably benefited a lot from using a couple of them in this fight, but I just didn't. This is a big problem because I just got another one here. So I would aim to have at least 2 potions at a time, like just have a couple spare. Don't go for the 3. When you have 3, it's probably best to use one. This would have helped me a lot because I was running out of draws. The Clarity Extract would have been amazing, or an increase to our damage. You probably could have finished them off a turn sooner and taken less damage. So don't get in a habit of hoarding these things. They are meant to be used. That's why you have them. Like this energy, yeah, any of these would have actually benefited me quite a bit in that last encounter, and I wouldn't have dropped to as low of health. And then I would have been able to grab this one here, which would have been crazy because this turn your next card's playing extra time. That huge damage burst goes even crazier. So yeah, there's a lot of potions that do some pretty powerful stuff. Like there's one that gives you 3 times your damage on your next attack. That's pretty crazy when you look at an attack that did 91 damage. So please, please, please don't hoard potions. Use your potions. And if you end up goofing off and forgetting, you can just discard one and you keep the best available. Now our next tip is actually a pretty important one. The flow of cards. Drawing is really good. If you're able to get some, you can actually empower your build quite a bit. This is where we're starting to look at cards. So we can look back into what's coming next in our draw pile here, and then look at our discard piles. This is just quickly to strategize with what cards we need to use. Like right now I'm in a bit of a pickle because I only have damage attacks. These things have a passive that makes us lose max health if we take damage we're not blocking. I thankfully have some from the relic that I have there, but they're gonna hit me hard. So I need to draw cards and find a way to get through this. So that's why we're gonna use this here. And I got a Sovereign Blade here, so I guess that could be somewhat useful. Like, this target will get one shot, but he's not attacking me here, so that does really help. I did put the vulnerability on him. This one won't one shot this one either, but it's going to get him close, and I want to get that card down. And this one's going to forge, so I can then go ahead and finish that target off. Unfortunately, don't have any ability to block damage again, so I'm just going to go with weakening this one, so I'd end up taking 4 points of less damage. It is okay to take damage sometimes, like sometimes it's worth it so you can get some powerful attacks off. I still have 2, so I can go with the terraforming here, which will give me vigor, and then this makes my attacks hit a little bit harder here, and I'm going to forge a little bit further. Not the end of the world, but we will take some damage here. Just the way this game plays, you will take hits. That's kind of how it goes. My current card setup does not have much drawing, unfortunately, and I have a card here which is really nice because it gets more damage every single time that you draw this card, so it's nice to go through and cycle through your deck a little quicker. Luckily, I am able to finish this off just right here. Now, each of the heroes or classes have their own unique playstyle. The Ironclad is just a dependable character. I do think right now, the best characters, be Ironclad, just easy. Silent, pretty solid as well. I'm also thinking that Defect will probably be one of the better ones in this game too, just in terms of overall consistencies. Now, there are some changes overall to how energy works in this game, and like characters like Ironclad, who in the previous games can get a lot of card draw and do a lot of things in his turn, gets hit a little harder in this game. But the Silent has a lot of cards that I feel like are better this time around, like going with some of her different forms, like the Serpent form or Wraith form, even things like her Leg Sweep are pretty effective here. I personally really enjoy the Regent here, although I feel like he is very bursty, like his big sword there does crazy amounts of damage, but he requires a lot of setup, and his blocking ability isn't quite there compared to some of the other characters. You almost rely on getting certain draws for him to make sure that he's rolling properly. If you don't get them, then it's a struggle. You're going to be doing good amounts of damage, but not able to defend yourself. Unfortunately, I love the Necrobinder in theory. In gameplay, I think it's not going to be that great. But again, this is early access. There'll probably be some future updates to make this a lot better. But in my runs, this is by far the weakest one. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Necrobinder. But I just feel like they do have a bit of a struggle compared to like the awesome Defect, Ironclad, consistency, and the Silent, who's got a really, I feel like she got buffed the most going into this game, maybe. I will know in more attempts, but each character does have their own way of playing, and that's something you do figure out with time. I will be doing future videos breaking them down, but you can stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you would enjoy that. And when it comes to each of the characters' builds, you don't want to force something. Now, at the start, you get choices for your build. Like I could remove a card. This would be nice to remove a basic strike out of it. This one can give it 2 additional cards whenever you're drawing against elites, which is nice. The large capsule does come with a downside of giving you an extra strike and defend, but it can give you 2 random relics. And relics are really good in this game. I'm going to go with this because sometimes you do get good stuff. We got a lot of cards that we didn't need, but it also gave us one of this gave us 2 weapon upgrades, so that's how we got those. But we also got 8 vigor at the start of each combat, so 8 extra damage every encounter. Not bad for the start. Probably not a good idea to get those cards earlier, but I just want to showcase what you get for relics. But this one here is kind of what I want. We want to get through our deck a little quicker. Anything that can put your discard pile in your hand can be crazy because this just lets you play it again. So again, don't force things. Look for those synergies and strategies. This card here gives us a random power in our hand that's free to play for 1 action. It's a pretty solid card. It does exhaust, but hey, sometimes you just want to wrap these things together. They're going to fill our build together depending on how the character itself plays. So again, that's something you'll feel with time, but yeah, it goes back to my earlier point. Remove your cards, get rid of those basic strikes, and start to fill out your build. Here's another card that I can't afford, which would be amazing, putting a skill from a draw pile into our hand. I don't have anything I can grab, so it's may as well just get rid of a basic strike attack. Here's an example where if we had cards that have a high energy draw, we could take the double energy to double up on our energy and then nuke our turn whenever we get these. And this also counts for upgrades. Just be mindful of what your build needs. Some cards upgraded will reduce their energy costs. If you find you're ending your turns with less cards than you have energy, it might not be good to upgrade this when you may get better benefits out of upgrading something else. But for the most part, if you can get a reduction in the cost, that's going to be nice versus just upgrading your block to get 3 more points of block. You're probably better off going with something like that. So yeah, don't force your builds and you're going to have a good time. I'll be doing future videos again, breaking down each of the characters, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. Those are the 10 best tips to get better at Slay the Spire 2. I'm excited that this game is now available, and stay tuned for future content. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and we'll catch y'all in the next video. Have a great day.